So in terms of Oxford, people are looking for intellectually curious students, an ability to think on your feet. So not necessarily to prepare everything in advance. Of course, you want to feel confident, and you want to have done your homework. And if you've written a personal statement and said that you read this and this book, then obviously you need to have read those books before you turn up to interview. But, you can also have a little bit more flexibility and be able to listen very well to the interviewer's questions and to respond more critically. And with that, also obviously to show genuine interest. And one thing that I think really stood out in terms of the Oxford interviews in particular is that often students who finish their interview feeling really proud of themselves, thinking, yes, I got all of those questions right. I definitely answered correctly, are often the ones who don't get in, actually. The ones who leave the interview thinking, wow, that was really awful. I didn't know anything. I just answered really badly. Usually that's a sign that they've done quite well, because they've thought through those questions, that they really tried to engage critically with the professor. So that I'm just using this as an example of how it's more important to change your thinking and to be more open, creative, critical, than to be solely focused on grades and exams. So essentially, can you have a good exchange? Just thought for the students, students, I know that some students are listening right now or watching, so I thought you might appreciate this theme. So it's much more about, thinking, not missing the point of being genuinely interested in a discussion. Okay, so what can you do to prepare? There are several things, I think. It's also important to think of this as a kind of long-term process too. It's not just there isn't, I think, a quick fix. Right, there's some research that you can do in terms of finding the right school and thinking about what level your child is at and where you want to kind of put them in terms of a school, what kind of school, and where they are in terms of their academic development and their English skills as to what kind of school would be best for them. But I think it's also about cultivating a good mindset and making sure that your mindset is open, it's creative, that you're not afraid of taking risks or making mistakes. And I'm saying this specifically within the context of Hong Kong students. I think if I was talking right now to, if we were in the US and I was talking to a group of American students, it's not necessarily what I would be saying. This is more directed to Hong Kong students, because I think you need to hear it a little bit more. You need to be more encouraged to be open, to be creative, not to be afraid of making mistakes, to be sure that you can put forward an opinion and not be afraid of getting things wrong. And again, it's not about memorizing things, but using what you have and thinking about things in a new way. So that's why I put this one about, it's not what is poured into a student. It's not what, you have to memorize, but it's what's planted. So do you have the tools with which to engage with new materials too? Okay, so what can we do? Practically speaking, well, I think, and this is something that Miss Willow often tells people, right? You've got to read fiction, non-fiction, poetry, anything that really interests you, right? There's no point in reading something that, you find really boring and then you end up hating reading, right? You want to read something that's exciting for you, and so that you can both cultivate your love of learning, but also improve your verbal skills and your English at the same time. I mean, read in any language, right? You can read in Chinese, read in English, but specifically if you're applying to the UK, obviously it's better to read in English so that your English level goes up. I think also you should pursue your interests, even if they're not related to your school grades, that's fine. That's really about encouraging or cultivating your own intellectual curiosity. So I'm very proud of the students here at the centre who take Latin, because they even say, well, actually it has helped me with my English, but generally I really just like it. And I think if you're that kind of student, it's going to help you not just in your grades in Hong Kong, but in the long term too, because you're going to enjoy learning a lot more, and you're going to see it as an enjoyable process, as an end in itself rather than a means to an end. And finally, you can think about cultivating your creativity. You can try new things. You try, people say that the first step in doing anything well is to do it poorly, right? So try new things, get used to failing at things, get used to doing things not very well, so that you can see that process and gain confidence as you improve. And also learn to think on your feet. It's okay to get things wrong, but there's also things that you can do so that you're better prepared to think on your feet, such as debating club, and being able to argue for a position that perhaps isn't yours, but you just know that you want to be able to win that argument with new and interesting arguments that you've kind of cultivated on the spot or brought up on the spot.